The New Republic from Star Wars has a problem. It is a government founded by rebels, founded on the principles of democracy, freedom, and cooperation, but allows former Imperials, former anti-democratic authoritarians to be in government, both in elected and appointed and hired positions with influence, and even adopt some equipment, some tools from the Empire to govern. But the problem that I want to address is not any of that, though it does need to be addressed. I want to address not the threat of democracy from within, even though this is kind of still from within, but specifically, I want to address the problem they have regarding civilian control of the military. Now, before I continue, there's a few things I want to address. One, this is talking about canon continuity, so we're not talking about Legends New Republic at all. Also, this video, I wrote a script. I actually wrote an entire essay. It's 11 pages long, including the bibliography at the end. So if you want to read it, check my sources and all that, it will be linked down below and will be viewable on my website. Lastly, this is actually in response to a video that the Temple Institute put out last month by the time this video is coming out. Over a month ago, actually. Yeah, because it was... Yeah, I kept on delaying this video because it's a big one. I wanted to do it justice. The video I'm responding though to is how Star Wars accidentally made one of its heroes a fascist. Now, I disagree with their take. I basically have a different take of what's going on with the tension between Hera Syndulla and the Senate Oversight Committee for the New Republic Defense Force. They focus on how the writing accidentally gave Hera some fascist characteristics as she thinks she knows better with Centers. I just disagree with that interpretation of the scene. So we both agree that what we are seeing is a problem. There's no doubt that what's going on is actually a problem for civilian control of the military, for the New Republic establishing a democratic government, democratic principles. We all agree on that. I can tell, we just disagree on what exactly is being conveyed, what the core problem is. And we both agree that there is a breakdown in the civilian control of the military. But we are disagreeing on the cause, that core problem. They are they are seeing a military leader, a rogue military leader. But I don't think that alone is justifiable for such a label. I see systemic issues that will only worsen in time. But you know what? Before we continue, we have to address what exactly is civilian control of the military. You might obviously say it's when the civilian government controls the military. But I would argue that is not enough. That's not a strong enough definition because of dictatorships. There are some dictatorships that are military dictatorships and have no civilian control at all. It's the military that's in control of both the military and the government. Clearly, they don't have civilian control of the military. But that's not every single dictatorship. Not all dictatorships are like that. There are some dictatorships that maintain a civilian government that does control the military. Normally, whoever holds the leadership position, be that president, prime minister, premier, general secretary, or the like, whatever titles they use, as long as it's not a military position, they don't hold an official rank in the military beyond holding a position equivalent to that of commander-in-chief. The US president is commander-in-chief, but he's still a civilian. They don't wear a military uniform, and if they do, they don't wear any patches, medals, or insignia beyond that of the national flag or party emblem. Take Ukraine. Zelensky, every now and then, you'll see him in fatigues, but it's just the fatigues. He's not wearing anything that would identify him as a member of the military. He's not wearing medals or rank insignia, he's just wearing the bare clothes. Basically the same stuff a private would wear minus any identifying stuff. Not to mention they may maintain the illusion of democracy with elections that only allow pre-approved candidates from the ruling party and their allies, a rigged election. That might be, North Korea, Russia, I'm just saying. Arguably, there is still civilian control in the military in those cases. As Chinese Communist dictator Mao Zedong said, political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Our principle is that the party commands the gun and the gun should never be allowed to command the party. This shows that non-military dictatorships understand the principles behind civilian control of the military. They understand the dangers of giving the military independence from civilian authority. However, it is all for show, as when the military is controlled by a dictator or a single party, they use the military as an instrument of state power, both domestic and foreign, with police and paramilitary organizations also being used in conjunction with the military to exercise state power. The military is being used to control society, to rule it, even if that rule is for the non-military leaders, civilian leaders. So, what then is truly civilian control of the military? Dr. Richard H. Cohen states, "The point of civilian control is to make security subordinate to the larger purpose of the nation, rather than the other way around. The purpose of the military is to defend society, not to define it," unquote. In his article, An Essay on Civilian Control of the Military for American Diplomacy, he further explores the concepts of civilian control of the military, its definition, its points, its foundations, and its threats. Notice how Dr. Cohen said the purpose of the military is to defend society, not to define it. This is key to understanding civilian control. When a dictatorship uses the military to maintain the dictator's power and control over that of the party, then the society is defined by the military as a result of its use to control society. This is why a non-military dictatorship with a civilian in charge does not have civilian control of the military. The military is defined by the need of the dictator or the party defining society, not being defined by the external security threats and needs of the society and the nation. So the military should not be defined by what the society needs internally, but what it needs externally: protection, defense, security from those external threats. The New Republic is not a dictatorship, and by all accounts they have civilian control of the military, except there are threats to that civilian control. Dr. Cohen says that, quote, "Any breakdown or erosion of constitutional process caused or used by the military, or that permits the military to become independent, represents a threat to democratic rule," unquote. He further elaborates that both external and internal security crises can erode civilian control of the military, and important for our consideration is that the military, quote, "tasked with missions beyond national defense, strains the trust between soldiers and society that must underlie stable civilian control," unquote. And I will argue that preventing the military from performing its mission of national defense would strain that trust. Now, does that sound somewhat familiar to what we see in Ahsoka and other canon works set between The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi? The number one source of personnel and equipment for Leia's resistance was the New Republic Defense Force and its personnel and officers, who felt that the civilian government was ignoring a threat to the New Republic's security. Hill performed an unauthorized mission because of a belief that the senators were ignoring a potentially existential external crisis. And these are just some examples showing the breakdown of civilian control of the military due to external security threats. The New Republic military seems responsible for law enforcement and internal security, and not just anti-piracy within the Outer Rim. It is unclear to me how much of the Outer Rim is a part of the New Republic though, but we know for a fact that the First Order and Imperial Remnant agents are sowing seeds to create internal threats. But with the lack of stories besides Bloodlines by Claudia Gray and what we see in The Mandalorian, the only thing that we can say for sure is that by causing popular distrust in the government, there is a strong chance of weakening civilian control over the military. Maintaining civilian control of the military is a delicate thing. Part of it is civilians acknowledging the dedicated skills of professional officers and soldiers. When a general says something's a military threat, that holds more weight than when a line cook says it. But at the same time, the military has a self-interest in staying around and will see threats where there could be one theoretically, but isn't one in reality. It is the responsibility of the civilian government to take the concerns of the military establishment seriously and to give their concerns and recommendations of action proper consideration, but not let the military dictate national security policy. In other words, not to say yes or no outright, but to evaluate the military's reports against third-party reports and the needs of the people. The civilian government needs to inspire the military to be loyal to the government and the people. But what happens when the military is loyal to the ideals of the government and the people, but not the government itself? That is what we are seeing in the circle with Hero. Hero supports the ideals of the New Republic and wants to defend the people. It is the same motivation as to why she took up arms against the Empire and became a rebel. The behavior of Senator Ziona being the main cause of a growth of mistrust between Hero and the civilian committee. He likely got Hero's full report, but just shuts her down, not letting her explain, not allowing her to present her case. The report will be filled with all the details, the facts, but should not a part of the hearing be to give Hera the opportunity to explain why, in her judgment and experience as a general, the events and intelligence as described in her report need to be followed up on? Plus, it's not like she was asking for an invasion force, but a task force to scout and follow up on an intelligence. But Senator Ziona shuts her down by claiming she has personal reasons rather than legitimate ones. Though both can be true, and in response, Hero resorts to a personal attack on the senator. Hero strikes me as someone who would not resort to a personal attack on an elected official without justification. The conflict between the two must have been brewing for some time. And that's the thing is, that scene showed active distrust between the two. Conflict. It can't have started with that hearing. There must be history there as to what is going on there. Another thing to note, Chancellor Mon Mothma opens the meeting with small talk, pleasantries to break the tension and build trust. But Senator Ziona interjects and was all business. But he shuts down Hero later on because it's not the business he wants to have done, I guess. Sounds like a breakdown in trust between military and civilian government. As Timothy Snyder noted in non-territory, quote, make eye contact and small talk, unquote, arguing that it is not only polite but also breaks down social barriers and builds trust as a means of combating tyranny. Should this not also apply to civilian control of the military? If you want to avoid tyranny by the military, divisions are harder to form when you trust people and when you remember how they were kind to you. For example, taking interest in the well-being of one's kids, like Mon Mothma did with asking about Hero's son Jason Syndulla. It seems that the New Republic senators are micromanaging the military rather than exercising civilian oversight and control. In an effort to prevent an abuse of power by and with the military and to show the people that they are not the Empire, they are in fact putting strain on the trust between the military and civilian government. Instead of holding the military accountable and controlling the strategic posture and operational picture, the military is instead micromanaging the day-to-day operations. It's not like they are directing the military to implement a policy to stop the hazing of new recruits or to redeploy a unit to scare some pirates threatening a major shipping lane. That would be reasonable. Instead, based on these hypotheticals, they are telling the military how to stop the hazing, even though that won't work because the Senate is only focusing on hazing from drill instructors rather than hazing that is also coming from the fellow recruits, officers, and veterans of the force. And they are ordering a specific unit to deploy to combat pirates. Who cares if that unit is under strength and on the other side of the galaxy? A senator wants that unit because his friend is an officer in it and he wants to help his friend get a medal or a promotion. But those are only hypothetical. What is no hypothetical is how, as seen in The Mandalorian, where the New Republic's defense forces couldn't respond militarily to a call for help from an allied trade partner being attacked by pirates. All because they didn't have the right treaty signed. That is micromanagement, not leadership or control. And right, like, okay, you promised to help them, okay. You may not have an exact defense pact, but shouldn't pirates also be threatening your trade as well? I'm just saying. However, I should consider viewership bias. We know much more about what is going on than all the characters do. We have a natural disposition to trust the protagonist, especially ones like Hera, who we have seen grow up and grow as a character and a leader. We trust Hera's judgment implicitly because we know her. This is just like how in Star Trek, we know when the captain defies orders or breaks the prime directive, they do so for the right reasons and their judgment is sound. Examples include when Captain Kirk stole the Enterprise in the search for Spock. when Captain Picard saves the Baku in Star Trek Insurrection, Captain Sisko and the Pale Moonlight bring the Romulans into the Dominion War, and countless more examples. Granted, Star Trek has a habit of evil admirals clearly issuing illegal or immoral orders, but regardless, we hold our protagonists in high regards, and we trust their judgment at a level higher than the other characters do in universe. And let's be real, we do have a lot of skepticism regarding what military leaders and officers say. Just turn on the news and you will find some military saying something, and you probably will go, huh, and not just because it's using military jargon. But if we assume, which is safe to say given the story being told, that what we see on Corellia and the other events in Ahsoka showcasing the threat were not only included in the Heroes report, but also independently verified, then Heroes' request to follow up on the intel is not unreasonable. Being denied to further investigate the potential threat is unreasonable from a security standpoint, but what if the people are not willing to confront a potential threat? And this here is, I think, what's going on. The people of the New Republic largely are not willing to go to war, or at least the senators are not. And with the First Order and Imperial remnant infiltration, this is being encouraged as they want a New Republic that has a small military, that has tensions between military and civilian control. But let's give the New Republic some credit. Hero is court-martialed by the Oversight Committee for disobeying the civilian leadership. Though is that really a court-martial? If the New Republic is anything like the United States, generals are confirmed by the Senate, and as such, any trials into the misconduct by the Senate, shouldn't that be impeachment, as that's the only type of trial authorized to be performed by the Senate in the US Constitution, though only after the House passes articles of impeachment? Though it seems that the New Republic has a unicameral legislature, so what should be happening is the military should be conducting the court-martial while the Senate committee conducts a hearing to recommend to the Senate whether Heroes should be dismissed from a position within the military if the court-martial does not do so. Likely calling it something boring like the Senate Defense Forces Committee hearing into the alleged misconduct of General Harrison Dula. However, I do want to state that I am unsure if general and flag officers within the United States can be court-martialed under current US law and the manual for court-martial. So if anyone knows better, please let me know, because that's not my expertise at all. I literally know nothing about it. Just by research for this, it only made me more confused. And I'm also unsure if impeachment is correct in this scenario as well. So again, if anyone knows this stuff better, let me know in the comment section. The only thing I can say is that Hera would be asked to resign after the hearing, and I'm pretty sure that's also the case in the United States. Regardless, it does show that the New Republic is micromanaging the military by combining the military court-martial in the civilian Senate hearing. Now, both are needed for proper civilian control in the military, and if both do occur independently, the civilian government is then showing trust in the military by letting them judge their own, giving military personnel the same right to a trial by a jury of their peers as civilians get. But the civilian government also shows the military that they will not let the military unfairly protect their own when misconduct does occur. They need to be separate procedures, not the same one. But there is something else going on that will also undermine civilian control of the military: corruption. Hero is saved from the court-martial by Senator Leia Organa doing some clever paperwork, falsifying records to authorize Hero's mission after the fact while making it appear it was pre-authorized. What Leia did here can, and probably should, be considered corruption, retroactively authorizing a mission to save the crew of a friend and military ally. But it also shows the breakdown of civilian control of the military, where one senator can stall military action and another can falsify records to allow it. The military will naturally side with the senator that supports the military and allows them to perform the operations they want. This is also a breakdown in civilian control. What we are seeing in Ahsoka is just one example of many within the New Republic failing to protect the galaxy that will lead to the rise of the First Order. They do maintain civilian control of the military, but only because the military is hampered from acting by strict civilian control. By maintaining such a strict control, they prevent the military from defending their national security under their authority, and that has led to an end of the state's monopoly on violence. A high-profile senator who is also a war hero and was the chair of the Military Oversight Committee, would later go on to resign her seat and form her own private militia that actively recruits from the military and actively gets intelligence and supplies from said military under the table. As Timothy Snyder noted on Tyranny, quote, "Be wary of paramilitaries," unquote, warning how paramilitary forces loyal to one individual can compete with the state's monopoly on violence, and civilian control of the military ensures the state maintains control of its monopoly on violence by having the ability to combat paramilitaries threatening the state and the people. Civilian control over the military is lost in the New Republic. The military found a way to operate without Senate approval by covertly supporting a parliamentary group, a private militia. The lack of trust between the government and the military was left to fester and grow. And when one senator left the Senate to act independently, the military establishment sided with her, despite her being the daughter of Darth Vader, which did harm her politically, but they still trusted her more than they did the rest of the civilian government. It is likely that if the New Republic fleet had not been destroyed with the destruction of Hosnian Prime, they would have rallied to fight the First Order, not under the banner of the New Republic, but under the banner of General Leia Organa's resistance. It is lucky for the New Republic and the galaxy that Leia had no interest in seizing power, and was dedicated to fighting those who sought to seize power and end democracy. She had the respect, trust, and loyalty of the military, and she chose to wield that power responsibly. Unlike Palpatine, who had the loyalty of the military and created an empire, the New Republic does not have effective civilian control over the military, and they got lucky. So that concludes my essay on the lack of civilian control within the New Republic military. I do very much stand by what I said, but I know like I said in my essay, there's some stuff that I am missing. Like, I honestly don't understand how everything about how court martials and Senate hearings into misconduct for military officials goes. I really don't understand how that works in real life in the United States. So if you do know, let me know. I would love to hear from you on that. But I also want to hear from you about your interpretation that's seen in New Republic civilian control. So I just would love to hear from you, get your thoughts. Like I said earlier, check out the Temple Institute. I do love all the videos. Even this one, I just disagreed with the fundamental problem. I honestly am seeing a lot more of that systemic issue going on that's causing the New Republic to lose civilian control and the military to act independently and sometimes go rogue. I am seeing a slight difference though there than they did, but that's because that's what I'm seeing. You might be seeing something even totally different that neither of us saw and we should have seen. It's very possible, so that's why I want to hear from you. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like this video and also check out my script. It will be up on my website, so that way you can actually read it and see all my sources as well. But again, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always. Thank you for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like, as well as subscribe to my channel and ring that bell to stay up to date on my latest content. Also, be sure to check out the link tree in the description, as well as any other links I have down there.